Yeah, we designated spitters live every week. Live, designated homie, cause we spittin' heat. We designated spitters, Francis and Pete. Yes, talking Yankee baseball, hip hop for the streets. Yup, we designated. Yup, we innovative. Yup, we designated. Spitters time that you know. Yup, we designated. Yup, we innovative. Yup, we designated. Spitters, let's start the show.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite show, the Designated Spittaz. It is me, you guys already know, and the one, the only Francis Lee. Francis, what is going on, fam?
Chilling, man. You? How's it going?
Same old, bro. Same old. Just
Yo,
another,
man.
just
we
another,
back.
you know, we always back. We always back. Me
like
and Francis,
clockwork.
by the way, if everybody knows, yeah, it is like
It's like clockwork.
I feel like we just did the show yesterday.
Yeah, it almost feels like we're doing it again.
It feels like we're doing a show. Guys, we actually recorded the whole episode yesterday, which would have been, Saturday.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was working on other stuff and I never changed the settings. And yeah, it had to be scrapped. So we are recording on the day of. So there's a lot of cool things going on here at NyynewsTV, fam. We want to obviously talk about, man. We have an announcement coming today at some point. If it comes out before this video, you guys know already. And basically, we'll have a new podcast every Tuesday from a very great people that I'm very excited to work with. If it hasn't come out yet, you guys will know very soon. So just stay tuned to Twitter and everywhere else, and you guys will know what's going on, man. But NyynewsTV, man, we about to actually already enter the first month. We're almost there. We are almost at a month in, which is really crazy to think about, considering me and you like started talking about these ideas and stuff like this months ago. Like, 6-7 months ago, it feels like.
6-7 months ago. And I would hazard it was like maybe like even 8 months ago. I remember.
I think it was.
Like
it was
like
a while back.
We were a couple months into recording the first season of this podcast, and like you were just like, yeah, man, like I'm
putting a team together.
I want to like start getting things, get the ball rolling on everything we're gonna do next year, and now like we're here, bro. Like this is our 4th episode, right? 4th episode of the new year, new season.
I believe so. It's either the 4th or the 3rd. Let me double check. I got the little calendar here. This will be episode number 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. This would be the 4th episode that we're recording.
It's crazy, right? We're like 4 Sundays in. And
yeah.
There's still another one for January.
Correct.
But it's because January started on the weekend. That's what happened.
Right.
Like this year started like on the weekend. So that's what it is.
That's right. Because the first episode was on a Sunday. We kicked everything off.
Yep.
And we actually are. Well, no, it's funny because the new podcast, which we're going to talk more about when we can, will actually kick off our February. And we actually got a really cool sponsor that is also joining us on February 1st.
That's fine. I mean, we got big things. We got big things coming, man. It's like we've delivered, I think, up until this point. We said it, right? We're like, yo, the first video, we're gonna get started or whatever. I think we just got it. We got to hang in there. It's like we were saying in the Lost episode, we'll call it.
Yeah, the Lost episode.
It's like
the Lost Chronicles.
Exactly. We were saying, man, like it's been tough because there's not too much content out there with the MLB lockout still going and things like that. But, we've been able to like find a way to like get, hustle and, find a way to get through the month and like really, grind and make it through putting out quality stuff for our fans. And like now February is like on the horizon and it's like, damn, we're coming in February with even more. Like we got announcements, about, things that we're going to be, maybe promoting or whatever and things like that. And we've got new people joining a new show. Like, bro.
Yeah.
NyynewsTV is delivering.
No doubt about it. And it's crazy
like
because
we're showing up in the clutch.
100%.
We are
man.
not Aaron Hicks.
No.
Like at all.
Nah, man. We like 09 A-Rod right now. How we feeling? You know what I mean? We like 09 A-Rod right now. We like Jeter throughout his career. That's how we feeling right now, man. I'll even give love to Big Papi. We like Big Papi in the clutch right now.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
You know what I mean? He's no longer a Red Sox, so it's all right. We could look back on the times and give the flowers where they belong to be.
You guys know how we give it up on DS, man. We're gonna you tell the truth, man. It is what even if it pains us.
Yes. Yes.
Even if
that's
it
the
pains
hardest truth to tell, but we will do it. We will
But we got to do it, man. David Ortiz was clutch as hell.
Facts. And I
Clutch
mean,
as
look,
hell.
crazy thing is, man, like you said about NY News TV, man, it's truly an exciting time, put it that way, for everybody involved. Like when we go over these things in private and we talk about these things, everybody's so excited. Everybody's figuring out how they can help. By all means, too, there's some of you guys out there who are not a part of the team yet, to the level that you want to be. That I tell you what, man, I've had so many DMs messaging me, Pete, is there anything I can do? What can I do to help? And as of right now, guys, the best thing you can do is subscribe to this channel. Based off our analytics, look at me being an analytic YouTube nerd now, looking at the numbers. I was looking at the data, the numbers, and about 70% of people watching a lot of our videos are not subscribed. So guys, please do us a favor. If you want to help, and I know you guys really, really do, subscribe. Tell your friends and family. Grab their phone and press subscribe. Get them on it. You know what I mean? Tell your friends. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, I'm telling you, if you're a Yankee fan, even if you're not, if you're just a baseball fan, you want to hear quality and fun content, this is the spot to be. So press that subscribe button. Turn the notifications on. This is definitely the place you want to be. And if you're a Yankee fan, I'm going to keep it real with you because I know how high our confidence is. I know our baseball IQ of everybody involved in this channel. You are not going to want to be subscribed to anything else. Or if you are, cool, go ahead. But also subscribe here because you're going to get a different look really from everybody. You know what I mean? I think Francis will have different looks than I do. I think the other podcasts will have different looks than both of us do. And that is an important thing to have. And that's truly what we do provide. So press that subscribe button, put the notifications on, go follow at One Francis Lee, go follow myself, follow everybody involved in this process of what we are building and creating here, because I'm telling you right now, you're not going to want to miss it. Big things are coming, including an announcement today. So again, if you guys heard that already, hope you're excited about it. I know we are. And if you haven't, stay tuned.
Share the word, guys. Share the word. This is growing. This is becoming big. And I think it's dope. Like, cause you can kind of already see that we got like a lot of new fans, a lot of new followers, new subscribers.
Yeah.
And it's like, we also got the OGs who have been there like from day one and stuff. And it's a welcoming community here at NYY News TV.
It is.
Contrary to popular belief, what some people probably thought.
Yep.
It's a very welcoming community.
I always say it, man. I welcome everybody. And it's funny too, because we're going to tell and I like to say it like this. We are going to tell our truth. What we personally feel, whether you agree or not, has nothing to do with you watching us or subscribing us or liking us. That's fair. That's okay. You can disagree all day. We like that. We welcome that. We are building a community that is truly for everybody. Whether you're a Red Sox fan, an Astros fan, whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative, whether you're fat, whether you're skinny, whether you're tall, whether you're short, whether you don't know what the hell your gender is or you do know what your gender is. We don't give two poots. We don't give two poots. That's my new tagline. I don't give two poots.
That's what inclusivity is actually all about, people.
Facts. Exactly.
The more you know. Let me clap it up for Pete. Let's clap it up for Pete. It's inclusivity in 2022, guys.
I like it, man.
What it looks at. Who knew?
Who knew?
The Spittaz.
Who knew, man? We are excited. Yeah, right. We knew. Well, we have a little bit of baseball to cover today. We do have a terrific interview by the one, the only Francis Lee with Randy Wilkins. You guys would know Randy Wilkins definitely by the new documentary coming out about the one, the only captain, which is properly titled Derek Sanderson Jeter. So that is exciting. Francis, you have that one coming up. Give us a little insight into Randy Wilkins and all that before everybody sees the interview.
Yeah, Randy Wilkins is a phenomenal director who's done great work, such as 86 and 32. There's a nice little documentary on Roy Jones Jr., the boxer, American boxer, for those of you who don't know.
Roy Jones,
chronicles the Olympics, which is something that, like he says in the interview, like he didn't really, do much speaking about that prior. That's it's great work. It's not even long. So if you guys haven't seen that and you're into boxing or whatever, like definitely go check that out. He also directed. Is that
the Roy Jones one? That's
the Roy Jones one. Yeah.
I gotta watch that. I haven't seen that one yet because Roy Jones is definitely. If you're a boxing fan, there's a whole time period there where Roy Jones was the fight.
Exactly.
He was the fight.
Yeah, Roy Jones definitely had his era.
You had
He had
Joe.
his
Well, that was a great
he had
time in
his era.
boxing, man. Even
Yeah,
he started the downhill trend started to come with Antonio Tarver and all that stuff, those fights and all
exactly.
that. But I'm
Yeah,
telling you, Roy Jones was at a level where when Conor McGregor said one time, there's levels to this game, and
yeah.
he was just on a different level where you couldn't touch Roy Jones Jr. You couldn't touch him. He would make you look like a fool in the ring. But it was a great
Oh
time
yeah.
of boxing too, with Arturo Gatti, who's one of my favorite fighters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It was all around the same time, and man, if you were a boxing fan, yeah, check that one out. I'm gonna check that out. Definitely.
It's good. It's really, 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 really good.
Yeah, I definitely got to check that one out.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Um, and it's short. I mean, like I think it was like the first time I saw one of those documentaries that I think is in a specific series that they were doing of like shorts,
Right.
because that's what they're called, like shorts. But this one was like really good. And I could listen to Roy Jones talk, like, about his life story and everything, but
Yeah.
also boxing
Yeah.
forever, because this guy was literally like Captain Unorthodox, man.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like
Yeah.
he
Oh,
just
yeah.
made it work. So it's like
yeah.
it's definitely dope. But yeah, Randy also directed the Spike Lee episode of Deer, which
Right.
is a show on Apple TV that it's another show that kind of does like little one episode documentaries on the people, like a bunch of different people. So you have the first episode is Spike Lee, the next you have Stevie Wonder, Misty Copeland. Like there's tons of episodes on the show there, and they're all pretty dope. So that one was really good. They kick off that show with the Spike Lee episode that Randy directed, and he tells a nice story about that or whatever, like that being kind of the first time that he directed Spike versus like him like working with Spike and Spike is a director kind of thing.
Right.
So that was dope. But yeah, the main thing, and the thing that like really has us all like super anxious, is that Randy definitely, did get the nod to be the director on The Captain, which is ESPN's multi-episode documentary that is like basically going to be Major League Baseball's Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
And
which was
focal
terrific.
point-
If you haven't seen Last Dance, that's the Michael Jordan documentary, and
Yes.
there was a ton of memes created after it. There was
Oh,
a different
yeah.
side of Michael Jordan that I think
Oh,
people
yeah.
may have knew a little bit, but didn't know in depth like that.
Yeah.
And our hope, and we are. I don't want to get too far, so we'll get the interview first. But I definitely believe we're gonna get Randy back on to discuss the stuff we find out, because he didn't want to go into detail, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Everybody got to watch it, and hopefully we get one of those first interviews afterwards, and we could really go into detail about what we learned about Derek, because we're hoping to learn a lot more that we never knew, a different side that we didn't get to see.
Yeah, and that's that's probably the biggest thing that has like me excited, just like being the huge Jeter fan that I am, and knowing how close he played everything to the vest. It's like, listen, the Jeter that we knew when he was a Yankee doesn't even do this documentary. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, no
this
doubt
is not
about
even
it.
his thing.
Never.
And Randy spoke about like how Jeter had to kind of be convinced. Like this wasn't just like a cut and dry thing. Like, oh, we're gonna do this or whatever. Like it's gonna happen. Like, listen, we know Derek Jeter kept everything super private,
Yep.
and even with this, like it was like he had to be convinced, and if he was gonna do it, he wanted specific. He wanted to work with the people he wanted to work with, and that's very it's very Derek Jeter-esque.
Yeah,
The way that
definitely.
this is being put together. But I think, Randy kind of like alludes to the fact that Jeter is like opening up and being candid about
Yes,
shit.
that was.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, when I heard that in the interview, extremely excited about that. We're gonna get to the interview. We got one topic to cover first, so let's start with that. It has to do with another shortstop.
Yeah.
I was about to jump into his new agent's name, but Carlos Correa has got rid of his old agent, and now he is working with the one, the only Scott Boras. So a lot of Yankee fans are trying to figure out, well, what does this mean? In reality, as me and you have talked about yesterday, and since this news came out with the team together, probably really means jack shit, to be quite honest with everybody. As Francis perfectly summed up in yesterday's Lost episode.
The Lost
episode. He summed it up
I wish I
pretty
had
well.
X-Files music. I would have put the X-Files music right there.
Twilight Zone.
I should never have been given this little sound box thing. You guys are gonna hate me in a month.
Right? Yeah. Once he really trusts me. Once he really gets a hang of it, we are all screwed, including myself.
We're out of here, bro. We out of here, baby.
including myself. We are all screwed. We're at the hands of Francis Lee. And
you're gonna be at the mercy of the buttons.
The mercy of the buttons. That's it. But
I wish I had this while I was watching Yankee games. I would mute Aaron Boone. Every presser.
Do we have
it would just
boo?
be like muted.
Is there
we definitely do. It would be a whole lot of this. Every time he would just start talking, it would just be like.
You know who needs that? The Yankee beat writers.
Oh my! If they with the questions they got, I wish I could. I could press it right after the question.
Wait a second. Did you just say turn in the corner?
Turn in the corner. Yes, we're turning the corner.
Aaron Boone. We love
you.
Besides, they got a very bad success rate. Frank Cacchiola.
Oh man.
And I'm a scumbag bitch.
Oh my god. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what we're talking about, then you are playing yourself. If you don't know what we're talking about, you're playing yourself, because that means that you missed the most recent episode of Hola, ¿Cómo estás?
You know, I know my boy Felix for years, man. Years. Guys, we're going back to me being a teenager and him being a teenager. We go that far back, man. I never knew my boy Felix was that funny, man. I gotta be honest. I gotta keep it real.
He's hilarious.
We had our moments of being funny. We had our laughs. We've had everything. We could write a book. We talked about actually writing a book at one point. We've been through the ups and downs and the crazy shit that you can't even imagine. But
I'm gonna make y'all write a book.
We're definitely gonna.
I'm gonna make
once
y'all write a book.
Once news blows up, I'm telling you.
Yeah, man, you're gonna have to.
Felix, I gotta tell you something else too about when we started and the person joining. It's actually pretty coincidental. It's pretty funny. But I never knew Felix was that funny, and we really got off our topic. We got to give our credit to Felix, man, who's doing a great job with the Hola Como Estás podcast.
Killing it.
Hilarious, man. He sends me these skits before he posts them, not for approval or anything. It's just we send each other shit all the time, and he always sends me them. And I was sitting with my daughter, man, and I played the Frank Cacchiola thing, the Turn in the Corner Foundation skit. And when he comes on that thing, he's like, "I'm Frank Cacchiola." And he says something first, then he goes, "And I'm a scumbag bitch." When I heard that, I started crying, bro. I started crying.
That morning was so funny, man. I'm driving my son to school and listening to it. I just can't believe it.
Oh man.
It's like my dog wiggles every time it's wiggles. Like that is the exact kind of person who would be like in need of this foundation.
Right. Definitely. No doubt about
it. If your dog's name is Wiggles, then you're definitely a perfect target for the Turning the Corner foundation.
You a scumbag bitch.
and you probably are a scumbag bitch.
He said his wife left him. I was like, Frank. Come on, Frank. Come on, Frank.
It was like,
Mr.
Frank.
Cacchiola. I told Felix, man, you had to make him Italian? Come on, man. Like, what you got to make Frank Cacchiola Italian for? You Frank Johnson? All right. Could it be Frank Johnson?
The ambiguous last name that he could have been anybody.
Frank Perez? I mean, come on, I gotta be Cacchiola. But
everybody gets it. He's really he really throws shots at every demographic.
You're not safe.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. Hubbard Smith, the Bushwick
It's not for the
dentist
faint of heart.
Not at all, man. But
it's not for the faint of heart.
Going back to where we were, I think that really sums it up, though. I don't really have much else to add on this story / non-story. I get it, and I know people want to find something to talk about, and I get it because look, we're content creators. That's why we're talking about it because you know we need more things to discuss right now during a lockout. And at the end of the day, I think it is what it is. Carlos Correa is going to get paid. The only way the Yankees are going to get him is if they decide to pay for him. It's that simple. It doesn't matter who his agent is.
Yeah. Guys, I think I was talking to people, when it happened, and I spoke to someone last night, a good friend of mine. He's like, "Oh, did you hear the news or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "So this means like he's trying to get like that 350." I was like, "Nah, man." I was like, he was always trying to get that 350.
Damn right.
And I'm not saying 350 like that's the number. I'm saying what I've been saying since the beginning, and I haven't moved off this point, is that Carlos Correa wants to be the highest paid shortstop, right? So he's going to need a contract that is $342 million or more, because
correct.
First it was Tatis at 340, Lindor literally beat it by the 1 million at 341. So Correa, like those talks need to start at 342. Like, yeah, is there a possibility he doesn't even get to 350? Yeah, by a few million. But the conversation starts at 342 because he wants to be the highest paid shortstop. That is what it is. And that was always the case, even before Boris was representing him.
Yep.
I think that if you want to read into this and you want to dive into this a little bit, the only thing that I can think of is, contracts of this magnitude are really hard to put together in terms of like the peripheral details.
Correct.
Right? There's like the incentives and the perks and things like this. And when it comes to that, Correa was being represented by a group that it's not that they don't have experience, but they were novices when it came to a deal like this. This was going to be their first big deal. He was their biggest client, and this was going to be their first huge deal. And I think, with the timing of, what's going on now in the MLB and the fact that Correa kind of had the time to like sit back and really assess, like, are these the people who I want doing these negotiations when everything is all said and done and we're back to, the table with teams. I think maybe he took a long, hard look at them and said, you know what? We're in a lockout right now. We're losing time because that's just the nature of the beast when you're in a lockout. Mm-hmm. He's like, maybe I need to go with somebody who's experienced. Maybe I need to move to a firm who has the experience in squeezing every penny out of these teams, because Correa is talking to a specific market, right? And he went to the guy who is the master of that market.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So he probably thought to himself, like, maybe I should just go to the guy who knows how to talk to these guys, who has like literally a plethora of experience talking to exactly these guys, the Brian Cashmans,
I was about to say,
the Art Morenos,
the whatever. That's gonna cough it up. That's right.
Like Cashman, Boris has the experience talking to literally all of these owners and all of the different GMs, even the ones who've changed. Like he spoke probably to Chaim Bloom in Tampa, and he probably spoken to Chaim Bloom. He's probably going to be comfortable speaking to him in Boston.
Yep.
Even if he didn't get a deal done with these GMs before, he's very comfortable speaking to all the GMs because he's been around the game for so long. And if you're Correa, like, yeah, you don't necessarily want to leave it up. Not that you're leaving it up to chance, but we don't know when this lockout is going to end, right? And you know that you need to get a contract that's huge and has a lot of things in it, because this is the only time you're going to get this contract.
That's right.
And you have a very short period of time to do it once the lockout is over, because we've already lost tons of time. You lost pretty much, you didn't really have talks before pre-lockout. December came, December 2nd, the beginning of December, you were locked out. You lost all of December. We're already almost through January. You lost all of January.
Yeah.
Like, when the lockout ends, he's going to have maybe a month to sign, not even, because ideally he would sign in the first couple of weeks so that he could get to a camp and, get to work, which like we said, a lot of players don't even care that spring training is going to be shorter, but how much shorter would actually have an impact on things. So yeah, if you want to dive into it that way, like, yes, there's probably details like that have it like influenced his decision, but does this change anything for the New York Yankees? No, not at all. He was always going to cost money.
Yep.
We know
definitely agree. And then the one thing, like, while you were talking about that, one of the things I thought about for some reason, I don't remember the point of what you said that triggered it in my mind, but I almost feel like this is very, very similar to when Manny Machado was a free agent.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about like changing agents or not, just the type of player that it's like when the Yankees missed out on him. I think we look more now at that free agency even than we did at the time, because we're like, the Yankees missed out on Bryce Harper and or Manny Machado, who I think we could all agree on, even if they replace one of the players that we currently have on the roster, they're a much better team. Like, I think Manny Machado to this day was still the perfect fit for the Yankees. I think he was the perfect. And there's a lot of Manny Machado in Carlos Correa, isn't there? They had the personality. Are they a cancer in a clubhouse? Do they play to a certain level? Is their attitudes good enough? Is it gonna work with Aaron Judge because we have to protect the 6'7" man? Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I feel like there's a lot there, and I'm like, we missed out once. I think Machado right now, if I could go back, him or Harper should definitely be a Yankee. I think every Yankee fan still feels the same way. But man,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
man,
for sure.
can you imagine him at third base right now? You got Volpe coming up because nobody would be talking about Short right now. I think if he was our third baseman, nobody's sitting there saying, well, maybe we get Correa. I think there's a little more balance and act to that instead of everybody be like, we got to get him, and people like, no, because I hate him. You know what I mean?
It would probably be like a couple of, those fans who like just think we should sign every
of course,
huge free agent every winter. There would be those people saying we should sign Correa, but the majority of the, decent, coherent minded fans, if Machado was already on the left side and we know Volpe's, maybe coming up in another year,
or Peraza's up in
2 months, we would probably be clamoring for Peraza to be the opening.
Because at the end of the day, if you think about it,
I know I would.
Me too.
That's what I would be saying. I'd be like, call up the kid, right? So he could spell until Volpe's ready.
And everybody knows the field. Fielding's not the concern with him. Yeah. The concern apparently is the bat, but I don't even believe that, to be honest. We'd be
holding Cashman to that. We'd be like, well, you said his glove has been MLB ready since the middle of last year.
Because it's funny, because when people bring up, well, the glove is ready, they go to, well, then is this Andrelton Simmons? No, it'd be way better hitter than Simmons.
No, yeah, even I, we disagreed on this because you were like, you feel like he would probably hit up here, and I'm more like bearish, like I'm like, I don't know if he, but but there's make no mistake about it, he wouldn't be Andrelton Simmons,
and he wouldn't be like an automatic out. He's not a guy you throw ninth.
No, he wouldn't be Andrelton Simmons. He wouldn't be an automatic out. What I'm saying in terms of like the hitting, I think it's going to. I just think it's going to take him a second to really get acclimated.
And it didn't in AAA. If you followed him, last year, even when he went up to AA, there was an adjustment period where everybody's like, oh man, his first 7 games he was bad. Then he's like, no, I'm good, and boom, he just takes off. You're like, oh, this guy's a monster.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like with
his
him,
speed is insane.
That's his style.
People underrate his speed. He's one of the fastest players in the Yankees minor league system. People don't recognize that.
Well, he's an athlete. He's super athletic.
Don't we need that? We need some of that in this club, man. But
at the end of the day, because this is one of those like secret, like random topics that comes up that we don't plan that came up. But to put a button on it, if the Yankees end up, passing on Carlos Correa and passing on Trevor Story, like there's nobody else who I'm interested in that I would say, okay, give me that guy over Peraza.
Yeah,
like,
facts.
So I will say this, like, as much as I do worry about him, struggling offensively in the beginning, I'd rather go through those growing pains for the first couple of months of the season than watch an Andrelton Simmons
150%
or Isaiah kind of for left. I know some of you guys are gonna kill me for that because you're gonna be like, oh no, but IKF is a really good guy, won a Gold Glove or whatever. Yeah, that's nice, but it's like we have a guy who I think actually projects higher than him in Peraza.
Projection wise, no doubt about it.
He projects higher than him. Like, why are we gonna use freaking prospect capital to trade for this guy in Peraza?
Yeah, and for all you guys out there, I want to throw this out here. For all you guys out there that are very quick to put Peraza in a trade and get rid of him, and then you're also very quick to say, I would do nothing, I would never trade Jason Dominguez. Peraza's ranked higher, and he's doing it at much higher levels. And Peraza's not much older. He's not much older,
but he's much more proven than Dominguez is.
And I bring that up just because everybody's so quick to throw him in any type of deal. Any deal.
It's because people
Peraza's
don't.
In there. And I get it. If it's for Olsen, then yeah, of course, I even trade him for a deal like that because it makes your team way better.
And that's the thing that I think people miss out on. Like, when they put these deals together, I don't think they realize, like, and I understand. Like, look, a lot of people talk about Yankees prospects. A lot of Yankees fans talk about Yankees prospects without really knowing the ingredients. They don't know what's in the meal. They don't know how it's put together. They don't know. And they know the names because it's become popular to like know the names.
No doubt.
Now, which wasn't always a thing, but now it is. But they don't really know what they're talking about in that regard. And that's why we do what we do on this podcast. Yeah. We go and bring guys on like Eli Fishman who are going to actually give you guys the knowledge to speak on these prospects in an educated way. Because when some of you speak and say, oh, Dominguez is untouchable, but like you're throwing Peraza in deals for like relief pitchers, it's like, yo, you look crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because Peraza is only a little bit older, but he's like 100 times more proven than Dominguez is right now. Dominguez is is such a shot in the dark. And still, the raw talent is through the roof. It's out of this world. But he's still way more of a shot in the dark than Peraza is right now. Peraza is way more proven. Like Peraza could start on this team this year.
Yeah, and if you
Dominguez would be like, no, he would die.
Near. If you didn't watch that interview with Eli, I'm actually going to put it up right up here so you guys could click on that and see it. Because he actually has some really great things that a lot of you aren't hearing about Jason Dominguez. So that's really good. But speaking of that, I just want to do a quick promotion, guys. I got the DS hat today.
Check that out.
So the designated Spittaz hat. Of course, I also got the NyynewsTV champion hoodie. Got the round of applause for it.
Check that out.
So
that's clean.
Yeah, if you guys go to nyy.news/shop, we got some more stuff coming your way, but we got a ton of stuff for every single podcast. So not only DS, but everybody else. Everybody, I forgot how many podcasts we have now, but all the other ones out there, we got those too.
Guys, buy the merch and tweet and add us. You know what I'm saying? When you get your merch,
definitely take some pictures and shit like that. Yeah,
tweet it out, and add us, man, and we'll retweet and we'll share you. Yeah, man, like we love to see the the fans going out there and really representing and supporting.
There's nothing that makes us happier, to be honest. And I'm not even joking when I say that. Like all the hard work that we put in, when we see you guys share it, when we see you guys wear the stuff and retweet it, that makes it all worth it, because we know how much you guys have our back and we appreciate that completely. So again, if you guys are in here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, put the bell on so you never miss a DS video. And from right now, we are now going to enter the great interview that you're going to want to sit back, relax, enjoy it, listen, take notes. Take notes, prepare for the premiere of The Captain. Here is Francis Lee's interview with Randy Wilkins.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys already know me. It's your boy Francis Lee. And I'm sure you know the man who I'm talking about, especially if you've been active on Yankees Twitter for any sum of time, Mr. Randy Wilkins. Welcome to the Designated Spittaz podcast, man.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Nah, man, we're truly honored to have you. I mean, this guy works on Deer, which you guys probably have seen on Apple TV. If you haven't, you need to go see it on Apple TV. 86 and 32, which obviously by one of my favorite boxers. But again, if you're my age group, I'm sure he's one of your favorites too, Mr. Roy Jones Jr. And I think the big thing that every one of you already knows and is probably saying, why didn't you lead with that, Francis? The director of The Captain, which is ESPN's multi-episode documentary that's coming soon, right? Which we're all super anxious about. So I'm sure that's super uncomfortable to hear your some of your accolades like put out like that, but I got to do it, man, because I like to give people their flowers, man, and you definitely have done a lot of great work. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time and being here with us. And that brings me right into my first question. That's why I led with all your work. How did you get into filmmaking?
It's a little bit of a long story, but it was kind of a circuitous route, as people would like to say from time to time. When I went to college, I went to Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I was an English major and I played baseball there. And I thought ultimately I was going to end up in law school. During my time there, I had to try out with the Kansas City Royals between my junior and senior year. So there was a period where I felt like, I could put law school on the back burner and play professional baseball. But a couple months later, I tore my ACL and blew my knee out. So that kind of killed the whatever little glimmer of hope I had of being a professional athlete. In that first semester, my senior year, I needed an art credit to graduate on time. I wasn't really like an artist. I actually took a lot of arts classes while I was in college, and I dropped all of them because I was like, this is boring. I'm not interested in this. This is my thing. I didn't even take a creative writing course in college, and I was an English major, like I had mentioned. So I took this video narrative course because it was the only art class that was available, and I needed to take it to graduate. And within 5 minutes, I was hooked. Our professor was an alum of the school, Mary Haverstick. who was a working filmmaker in the area. She taught the class, and there was something about the craft that I understood immediately as soon as she started talking about it and started giving examples and how to really identify storytelling in film.
Mm-hmm.
So once she started breaking it down, it made sense to me. Like, it was a language that I just naturally understood, even without really getting into the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
I took that course and I started having the bug, but again, at that time, we're talking 2001. So there aren't a lot of film programs in undergrad colleges yet, because digital was just starting to hit and become affordable. So it wasn't like the big wave that it is now. There was no YouTube. Final Cut Pro, if people know what that is, the editing system, was just becoming popular and useful for people. So it wasn't a time where like a kid from the Bronx could realistically say, oh, I can go out and be a filmmaker 1, 2, 3. You can do that now, but the easy access of becoming a filmmaker with the tools, it wasn't like that then. So it was a little bit more difficult. But because I had the school, they had all the equipment, they had Final Cut Pro. And jumping ahead a little bit, 9/11, I graduated. I graduated late, so I had to come for one extra semester because I got hurt. I couldn't graduate on time. So that was the fall of 2001. So 9/11 happened.
Okay.
And I get my degree that winter, and I don't want to come back to New York yet because, you know, the city's still messed up.
Yeah.
So I pitched the school on doing a documentary on a Black-owned barbershop in the area that I went to school in, which was predominantly white in that part of the town. Mm-hmm. So I thought it could be this like real interesting story about this kind of like clash of cultures that are trying to work together and coexist. Mm-hmm. So the school had an Africana Studies Arts Conference. It was the first one. It was perfect timing. Like, this is how I knew that, looking back on it, that this was meant to be. I pitched to the school. They had a platform that I could present the doc at, so it was working towards something. Mm-hmm. The school was cool with it. They let me do it. They let me use all the equipment. They let me stay on campus. They gave me a job so I could work and like make money. I made this doc called 100% Live, and then from there I caught the bug. And I basically treated it like an essay. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was an English major, so if I outline it like an essay, I'll just film it and fill the points on the outline. And it did well. It brought the community together, the two communities of my school and the larger Lancaster area. They didn't really connect that much. It was almost as if there was like an invisible barrier. That film helped break that barrier for a little while. And I think that was when I was like, okay, I want to do this because I'm actually impacting people and communities. And I couldn't do that any other way, in my opinion. So the thing that really got me into it was that I could see the impact immediately on people. And then I ended up meeting Spike Lee a couple years later. They gave me a filmmaker in residence position. Spike came to visit the school as a guest of the school for a couple of days, and met him, and you know, off we go to the races. So.
The rest is history, as they say, right?
Yeah.
I really love the way you put it. I think it's beautiful how you put it, where the art kind of broke down that invisible wall, because many times there are these invisible walls up in communities, and if you ask the locals, like, they don't even know what the origin is. It's just like, it's just always been that way, right? Like, that's just how it is. And art is kind of the only thing that ever can transcend and like really cut through. So that's actually really, really dope.
Yeah, when we had the screening for it, it was packed, and there were people. It was, I mean, I wouldn't say it was sold out because we didn't sell tickets, but the auditorium was pretty big and it was packed. Every seat was filled, and like every step was filled, and then the back was filled with people standing. So it was really like standing room only between the college community and the Lancaster community. It was humbling because, you know, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. So to go from that to people wanting to see what this film was that I made, and then to have the reception that it had after it was shown, it just told me that I could do something with this, and that, you know, if I learn a little bit more, I can make something that was impactful, that lasted beyond anything that I could really imagine. So I think that part was kind of intoxicating, to be quite honest, and then I just went from there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you went there. My follow-up was going to be like, how did you present this body of work once you put it together? And you answered that. I guess, and this is a weird question, I guess, but like, I always like to ask, like when I speak to friends of mine who are artists in their own right, like when you put out a body of work, right? Is it like your next move based on like the reception of that body of work? Or is it something that like, you're like, look, I just put this together and no matter how this does, like I'm already smitten by this and I'm going to continue doing it. Like you said, it was a sold out occasion, but like, imagine if it wasn't, like you think, no, I would have still kept pushing on because I was already in love with it.
I think I would have kept pushing on. It's just that energy validated that the risk that I took at that time was worth it.
Oh yeah.
I liked what I did. I only did it because I was beginning to like the process and the craft. That's why I did it in the first place. So I didn't really need people, whether they showed up or not, to convince me if I liked it and eventually loved it. That had nothing to do with it. I know how I felt, so I went off the feeling of it. It's just like anything that you and anybody else does. If you like it or love it, you just keep doing it because you like it.
Yeah.
It was just that energy validated that the risk I took could really impact others and that I wasn't the only one that liked it. You know what I mean? So I did something good enough at that stage of my life and career, quote unquote, at that time, that I did something right.
Yeah.
So people could connect to it, you know, fundamentally, like there was something emotionally that caught them. So I knew that I was doing something right. So it pushed me in the direction that, okay, I think I might have a shot at this, regardless of where I end up.
Yeah.
I did something right along the way. So like, what was that thing and how do I capitalize on it? How do I build on it? But I was going to keep going regardless.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. And I love to ask because like me, like I'm in podcasting clearly. And it's like everybody, it's 2022. I feel like everybody has a podcast, everybody or whatever. I mean, I do a podcast. I listen to like 12 podcasts. Like it's crazy. And when I first started out, I mean, we were pretty much talking to like nobody. Like me, when I first started, I was like talking to nobody. And I remember a friend of mine asked me, he's like, so why do you like keep doing it? And I was like, well, I realized at first I thought I wanted to start a podcast so I could talk to people. And I just realized I just like to talk. Like I just like to talk. And it's not about whether they're listening or not. Like I could talk about the Yankees, like to nobody. I could talk about the Yankees to a wall, I think, at this point. Yeah. And we got a good laugh out of it. But like now, a couple years later, like I fast forward, I met my co-host or whatever. Like now, like we're doing okay. Like things are moving little by little. And it's like, that's why I like to ask that question, because I remember when I started this, I didn't really know like if I was doing it for the reception or not until like I did it. I was getting like no reception, but I realized like, nah, I think I just love this. And it sounded like that from you. Like you said, I didn't think I was an artist, but now I'm listening to you, I'm like, it feels like you always kind of were that artist. It just was coming out. Yeah,
I mean, the other thing too is that in order to be persistent at something, you have to like really love it. You know, especially if you're in art. So artists always have lofty goals. They want people to see their stuff. They want to have a career in it. And one of the things that helps you get a career is persistence. You just have to be like doggedly committed to your craft. And the thing that keeps you that way and keeps you pushing is your genuine love for doing it. So if you're just saying, I don't want to do this anymore, then that's probably not the core thing that you love. There's something else that's out there that would maintain that commitment to it and enduring the ups and downs. So, you know, to stick with the podcast after a couple years tells you that this is the thing that you love to do. You know, it might not be podcasting, but it might just be connecting with people or getting your feelings out and all those things. So distance is a lot to do with it. And that's just a reflection of love to me. So,
yeah, I think you just hit it on the head. To be honest, I think more so podcasting or broadcasting or whatever it is, I think the most important thing, the root of it, is connecting with people. I think that's more so what it is. And I feel like I do that through this channel. And I feel like I do it through like even going into a live chat when one of our episodes is premiering and talking to fans. Like that's what it's about. But using that that point as a segue, talk to me a little bit about Deer. That it's amazing. I mean, I guess it would be like cliche. I'm a New York guy or whatever. So I'm gonna be like, I mean, Spike Lee was my favorite one and like whatever, but it's like, I'm gonna let that go. But like, talk to me, man. What is it like working with greats like the great Spike Lee or Stevie Wonder, or Misty Copeland? Like, it's gotta be the dopest experience ever.
Well, on this, I just worked with Spike. So
okay.
It's 10 episodes, but 10 directors.
Oh,
so
wow. Oh.
The episode I had was with Spike, and I basically grew up as a young adult under Spike. I mean, I worked for him starting on Inside Man all the way through like maybe 2019, 2020. In terms of just like growing up on, I started off as an editorial intern on Inside Man. I worked my way up where I was an assistant editor on a lot of projects. I was a camera operator for him on Miracle at St. Anna in Italy, and then eventually turned into one of his editors. So I'd been with Spike for a long time. He's like, a lot of people make jokes that he's like my film dad. So I have like a relationship with Spike. So the thing that made Deer interesting is that the tables kind of flipped, and I was directing him and interviewing him and getting him to open up a little bit. And I knew that there was a side of Spike that a lot of people don't know publicly. So I really wanted to tap into that and show people the vulnerabilities that Spike has, the humanity that Spike has, and just tell his story through that lens so people connect to him more. I think that a lot of times when we see Spike, you know, he's being passionate about a topic, or he's being crazy about the Knicks and like sitting on the floor of the Garden, like taking a picture of Steph Curry and being a meme. You know, there's like all these things that go along with the celebrity of Spike Lee, but I know the man. So I wanted to make sure that the emphasis of that episode was getting away from that stuff and focusing on who he actually is. But to be able to direct him and like interview him was the interesting part, you know. And now we did that interview the day before he won his Oscar, so he was already in a particular like headspace, and I think that he was very nostalgic, because you know, you're thinking about all the things you've accomplished, and it might come to this culmination that literally the next day.
Wow.
So I think that also helped the interview, that he was just in that space of thinking about how much he had accomplished, and that this moment, this one thing that kept avoiding him, he might have finally caught it, which he did, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got the job to do Deer, I was actually editing a commercial with him, and he came into the edit room, and I was like, "Do you know this Apple show Deer?" And he was like, first he was kind of confused why I was asking him about it. And then he was like, "Yeah, why?" And I was like, "Well, I'm directing your episode." And he just looked at me, he laughed, and then he walked out the room. He just laughed at me and walked out. And he came back and he was like, "So you're actually directing me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he started laughing again, and then he walked out, and didn't come back until the next day. And then when I spoke to him about it, you know, he was excited. That was just his way of like, you know, trying to be a jokester, trying to be Spike. So yeah, it was great. And I think that the show was great. The show did really well. I think it also released at a time that was important, because it released right after George Floyd had been murdered. And, you know, there was a lot going on with the early stages of the pandemic. And I think people just wanted something positive, like something that they could feel happy about amidst all this chaos and uprising, and the uprising that we needed. But I think people also needed a break. And I think the people that were able to see the show looked at it that way. And it was appropriate that Spike led off the show. So it's somebody that represented that uprising over so many years, but then it was like the human side of him. So like, it was almost the two things meshed really well together.
I'm glad you put me on because legit, because Spike leads off the show, like I watched that episode and then I just assumed, like, I'm like, oh, he directed all of them.
Oh yeah, nah,
it's
been a lot of work. Yeah, that would be 2 years of my life.
That would have been a lot. That would have been a lot. But I definitely want to give you your flowers for that because it was an amazing episode, and I think you truly hit the mark that you said you set out to hit. I gotta admit, like I'm going into this and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch like a kind of like a doc on Spike. So I'm expecting like I want to see like, the crazy director Spike, and I want to see the crazy super fan Spike, and I want to see like the crazy like almost activist like Spike. Like I want to like that's what I want to see. Like I'm thinking that's what I'm going to see, and I didn't even know that I was going to get to see this very human side of a person who, like, a lot of times when you get to see him in these clips, like they create like the character that is Spike Lee, and then like to watch, I guess this portrayal of him in his own words, I was like, well, this is like interesting. I'm only 30 years old, right? And I'm like, a lot of Spike's stuff, I had to like go back to it. I had to be given it by like my OGs, if you will. Like when I was, by the time, I was like 7 or 8 years old. Like Do the Right Thing came out way before I was like, you know what I mean? And like one of my older cousins was like, no, you need to go watch Do the Right Thing. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't, whatever. Like, I don't know about that. And it's like, like watching this episode made me feel like proud that like my family was smart enough to tell me like, nah, like you need to know this man's work because he's truly great. Yeah. Yeah, like that definitely came through. Interesting tidbit though. I didn't know like that was filmed like right before he got the Oscar. Now I think I got to go and watch again just to see if I can catch like that like feeling from him, because there was definitely something in that room, like, but that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It was a day right before, and in true Spike fashion, we had to start the interview at like 7 a.m. So we were there at like 4 a.m. So yeah, it was the day before. So
let me ask you this. You've probably gotten this question a million times, but I've never asked you this, so I'm going to. What's your favorite? And I like what you said about him being your film dad. So listen, if you're gonna have a film dad, might as well have one as dope as Spike. So that, that's sick. So that being your film dad, which one of the Spike Lee joints is your favorite joint?
25th Hour.
Oh, that was quick. I thought you were gonna give me one of those. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to choose. I gotta go. Okay. No. Okay. Nice.
That's the film like that came out when I was still trying to figure out if I wanted to pursue film. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to actually capitalize on this feeling that I had for a long time. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, there were two films that I saw around that time that kind of solidified it for me. It was Kill Bill. Just like a wild film. I don't make films like that. But Kill Bill and 25th Hour. And 25th Hour just felt like the height of filmmaking craft. Like I think it's a damn near perfect movie. And it just opened up my imagination to what a filmmaker could achieve. Yeah. Craft-wise. And I just fell in love with it. And I know that there's so many other films of great importance, especially like culturally. Mm-hmm. But I think it was just the time of when I saw it and what the topic is and the look of it. It's just everything about it. The editing by Barry Brown, like it just feels like perfect to me. So 25th Hour is definitely my number one Spike film.
It's crazy. Like the way you speak about it, like it seems it comes through like effortlessly, like the love that you have and the respect and admiration you have for the art. And I feel like I remember like I was really young. I must have been like 3rd grade or something like that. And we were talking about like movie directors. And this was like, obviously it's the 90s or whatever. I'm in Brooklyn. And kids were like saying like crazy names, like just giving like these like Scorsese, these are the people or whatever. And then one kid is like, oh, like, I want to be like Spike Lee when I grow up, right? Mm-hmm. And the teacher's like, oh, the Knicks fan or whatever she said. And he's like, nah, he makes movies or whatever. And she was like, the teacher is like, he makes movies. And I remember thinking like, how she don't know that he make movies? Like, and then another teacher came and like overhears the conversation. And she's like, you don't know who Spike Lee? And the teacher starts speaking. She's like, that man, he's not a filmmaker. He's not just he's an artist. That man's an artist. Whatever. And I remember like, that's the first time as a child, like I heard the connotation, I guess the two being put together, like filmmaking, like movie directing and art, like it being an art. Because as a child, I looked at it as something that was like mechanical. Like, I thought the director just like, worked the camera or something and said action and cut. And when the other teacher came in and like put it in perspective, she's like, he's not just, that man is an artist. I was like, okay, whatever. Like that really put it into perspective. So like when I hear you speak about, these movies that way, I'm just like, okay, like that makes it even more like true, like what I heard growing up and what I've seen, obviously watching all these movies. It's crazy you started with Inside Man. Inside Man is one of my favorites, I could have to say, out of all the Spike Lee's movies. I don't know if that's top in most people's like top Spike movies list, but like Inside Man is a really good movie, bro. Like, I don't know, I enjoyed the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And I guess I was one of the few people who didn't see the ending coming or whatever. Maybe I'm slow. I don't know.
The ending was good.
Yeah, I thought
a lot of people that aren't expecting it. You're not the only. I mean, no, it was good. I mean, I knew it because I saw the dailies, but no, it was even knowing it, it was still executed well.
Mm-hmm. Well, what
I knew.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It was. I always look forward to the end, even though I know what the end is. So. That's how I know that it's done well, because I just want to see it so I can get that feeling again. Yeah,
it's one of those like I watch it, like if it's on somewhere, I'm gonna watch it, or I just put it on and go back to it. What was that like? Like you said, like you started, like you joined right back then, like you're young, like you're breaking in. It's like, and you're working on this movie Inside Man. Like,
well, I was at NYU Film School by then, so I was in my first. I just finished my first year at NYU grad film.
Okay,
so I wasn't overwhelmed. It was, and also I knew Spike, so there was like a level of comfort and also like a level of excitement. I was just excited. It was like I'm working on my first like real big film. Like this is legit. Like Denzel Washington is over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I worked in the edit department, so I wasn't on set. Which also gave me a great seat into how the sausage is made. Like I was a part of that process. So I think it was a little different for me in the sense that like I was going to an office every day, but I was looking at the footage every day. So I looked like I knew like what Barry Brown, the editor was deciding with his choices. I knew what Spike was thinking, and I knew the process of how he spoke to Barry and like how they broke things down and made decisions. So I was like exposed to more than just being on set. Like most people were on set, and at that time, at that age, I would have been like on the periphery. So I wouldn't have really seen anything. But being in the edit room, I was naturally a part of the process and was exposed to the craft of it. So I wasn't really overwhelmed. I was just excited every day because I saw something new every day, and I think that also helped me, because if I was on the periphery holding down a set or locking down a set, it wouldn't have been rewarding. And I probably would have been like, oh, this is fun, but I'm not really getting anything out of it. But being in the edit room, it was like, oh, every single day I'm learning something. I know I'm learning what it's like to be a professional filmmaker, and I'm learning what it's like to have this high standard. So now I have something to reach for, and I'm beginning to understand the process of reaching it. So, I mean, I was just excited every day. It was every day I was excited, which is like rare, but every day I was excited.
I mean, that's why I asked. I'm like, a movie like that size. I mean, having that comfort level with Spike is one thing, and then just having having to look over there and see Denzel Washington is like, bruh, like this is what, like, you're just in a room full of goats, and it's like, but I mean, I guess you showing up and saying I wasn't overwhelmed, I was excited. Like that's a really like interesting and refreshing take. Like most most responses probably sound like, nah, I was like super like worried and afraid. And like you seem to be geared to like, nah, I want to learn something every day. Like, which I think kind of catered to like where you are now in your career, right? If you're trying to take advantage of opportunities like that in this way, no?
Yeah, but I feel like I belong there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I don't really get starstruck. So when I met Spike, I got into an argument with him, like a sports.
Okay.
So
do you remember the argument?
Oh yeah, we were talking about Pat Burrell.
Oh no.
He played for the Phillies at the time.
Yes,
and
yes.
Like Pat Burrell's a bum. That's basically what I was saying. And he was like, "How's he a bum if he's a professional baseball player?" And I'm like, "You could be a professional baseball player and still be a bum at your level." You know what I mean? Like he's better than me, but he's a bum amongst his peers. So we, you know, I think that's what kind of endeared Spike to me, because I didn't really care that he was Spike when it came to that. It was like, this is how I see it, and I don't really care that you're Spike Lee or if you were Pat Burrell standing in front of me. You know what I mean? And it was like I had my convictions and I stuck with it, whether it's accurate or not. So there have been very few times when I've been like starstruck. And I think I met Derek over Zoom because of the pandemic. So I think I was definitely starstruck then, but Zoom kind of protected me. You know what I mean? So by the time I met him, I wasn't starstruck. I felt like I belonged to be there. You know, it was just trying to figure out what are we going to talk about? Like, how is this going to go, you know, in person? But the Zoom kind of helped me from being like a super fan and like going crazy. So that was one moment where I was, but I was kind of protected by technology. But by the time I met him actually in person, I felt like I belonged there, and I was in the place that I was supposed to be at, you know.
Belonging. That's what I'm taking from it. That's super important, man. I mean, I think when you feel like you belong in the room, then it's gonna contribute to you not getting starstruck or being like overly nervous and things like that. And I think that like really shows like with the answers that you're giving. Like, yeah. Also, Zoom is a dope buffer. Like, Zoom it's helpful. So let's talk briefly about 86 and 32. There was a phenomenal work, obviously. Said it at the top. Can you tell me something that you learned throughout the process of putting that together, what that was like?
I think it was just dealing with a professional athlete in their world. You know, you're helping to tell somebody's story and the responsibility that comes along with it, and navigating how you properly portray an athlete's history or story. So I think that was the biggest thing. Like when I met Roy, only met Roy during that interview. We didn't really speak. I spoke to his manager, but I never spoke to him until I actually met him to do the interview.
Wow.
And I think that was a learning lesson in that I had to make sure that I made him feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable. Like, again, it's about showing another side of these men and women who we see on TV performing whatever they're performing, whether it's sports or something else, and revealing the human side of them. That's why we're watching. Like, are they like you and I? Yeah. And I think being able to talk about the Olympics and his amateur side, which is something that Roy didn't talk about a lot during that time. It was a lot of just like professional related conversations and films and articles and all that stuff was always focused on his professional career because he was so great. I think asking him about his amateur time and then asking him about his father and how that fit into all of it revealed that humanity. It was like he wanted to talk about that. Like I gave him the outlet to get things off of his chest. And I think the thing that made that film work is because he was emotionally vulnerable, especially when it came to his sacrifice. That it was like, I'll never forget him saying, I couldn't go to Disney World, you know, and I lived there. Like I lived near there and I never went there because I had this goal in mind. And it's like the level of disappointment and dejection, even from one of the greatest to ever do it in his craft still had this like moment of just like heartbreak, and he still feels it. Like it's still like a scar.
Oh yeah.
So I think it was really that, just like being able to create an atmosphere where these really successful, and not to say Roy has an ego or not, I'm not sure because I wasn't around him enough, but like you have to have an ego if you're that accomplished. Like it's just part of it. To make someone of that stature comfortable enough to cry on camera. You know what I mean? Like not the intent to make him cry, but that's where the conversation goes.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. And I realized that that's the thing that ultimately an audience will connect to because they understand it. And then all of a sudden they feel like a real human being and not just this thing that we consume on television. So that was probably the project where I realized that that's what this is about. So
I find it interesting you use the word responsibility. It's something that I don't know if, you know, every director, every person that, you know, put in your position approaches their work, you know, with that in mind. But I truly appreciate that you say that, you know, being responsible for telling a story and telling a story the right way. Because a lot of times these days, you know, people will kind of gravitate to like something that's more salacious or something that's going to guarantee like, you know, more clicks or more eyes on the finished product. And it's like, sometimes, you know, there's a lack of responsibility there in the storytelling. And you started off that by saying like, nah, I felt responsible for telling this athlete's story. Like, you know, like to me, like that's truly dope that you approach the work that way.
Yeah, I'm not going for the cheap thrill. I'm going for something more human.
Yeah.
You know, like I trust the audience. An audience is going to feel something, whether they think they will or they won't, or they expect to or don't expect to. Like, you know, we're talking about human beings, at least in the even in narrative, like we're talking about humans, talking about characters and human beings. So people always want to feel something. There's, you know, you want to create an emotional connection. So for me to just go after the cheap headline or the salacious headline is like BS to me. That's easy. Anybody could do that. But are you nice enough to create these emotional connections? Like, to me, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And even if you're talking about things that are salacious, what's a different context to put them in so it feels like something different or bigger or like has a larger context to it? You know, like you can't just XYZ did this crazy thing, so we're just going to reenact the crazy thing and then move on.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why was this such a crazy thing? Why was it such a big deal to begin with? What created it? Where was this person? Why did they do what he or she did? You know, you ask those questions so you create a fuller picture of what's going on. We already know that the salacious thing happened, but like, tell us more. How did that impact the person involved? How did it impact the other people involved? Like, there's much more to talk about than just, you know, the cheap thrill of some like salacious thing that, you know, who cares ultimately if you don't attach that larger story to it.
It's so obvious you're a storyteller, man, because you're like, I'm gonna look for that other angle that like is the road less traveled by when it comes to this topic. I think that's what makes you great at what you do. Shifting gears a little, how'd you get into baseball? You told us you played baseball in college. See the Yankee hat on, so I think I'm more than, you know, able to assume that you are a fan of the greatest baseball team to ever play. Talk to me, man. How'd you get into baseball? How'd you become a fan?
I couldn't even tell you. It's like been a part of my life from the beginning. Like, it's always been baseball for me. I mean, I watched it literally as a baby. Probably didn't know what was going on, but that's what I watched. It's like my number one passion. I mean, I will pretty much watch every game if I can. I will watch more than just the Yankees. It's just, you know, that's it. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. It's that been a part of me as long as I can remember. And I was born and raised in the Bronx, so there's no other team to cheer for than the Yankees. So, I mean, they're the only team that like really represents the borough.
Yeah.
So, That was like an easy choice. My grandmother lived in Queens. She was like right near Shea Stadium, but I mean, I didn't mess with the Mets like that. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that question because it's always part of my life. Like it's like a part of my identity. So yeah, I'm sure at times my girlfriend is like sick of me watching the game like every night. I can't help it. It's just like I have to do it. I have to do it. So
baseball is one of those things, man. If you're gonna be with somebody who loves the game like that, you just got to get used to like baseball kind of being on every night for like more than half the year, like 3/4 of the year. In my house
too, so
she does.
Yeah, we have season tickets together. So I got very lucky. But yeah, it's every day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I feel you on that. I remember my wife. I mean, it's a weird story. I'm not gonna get into all that, but she's a Red Sox fan. It's crazy, bro. Trust me, it gets
disrespectful,
dude. It gets real tribal in the house. Listen, this year it's like from opening day we're gonna be at odds. It's just not good, but I think the one thing that was dope was when we were dating. She realized early on because she came by one night and I was watching like Braves Marlins or something, and it was like, I mean, this is years ago. Like the Braves were like not good. Marlins were like probably worse or whatever. She's like, "Why are you watching this?" I was like, "I'm done watching the game." She's like, "But why? The Yankees aren't playing." I was like, doesn't have to be the Yankees. I just want to watch baseball." She's like, "Oh, so you just love the game?" I was like, "Yeah, like I love the game. The Yankees are second only to the game." Like,
right, exactly. That's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. So, I feel you. It's in your DNA. That's a good enough answer. I know you can't speak much on the details of the actual documentary, but you know that the world kind of went up. Well, Twitter for sure was going crazy when we found out about this, because how could we not? We all sat there during the pandemic and watched The Last Dance, and every single Yankee fan and some non-Yankee fans sat there and said like, we need the baseball version. We need the baseball version. And the Yankee fans were sitting there saying, we need it to be about Jeter. We need the Jeter one. We need it. So just wanted to ask you, like, you speak about the process of how you got or created this opportunity to direct The Captain.
Well, Spike is the executive producer. And the producers of The Last Dance approached Derek and his agent, Casey Close, about doing exactly what you mentioned. And I think that took a while for Derek to be comfortable to do this for obvious reasons, given how private he's been. But I think, I know that Derek and Spike have had a long relationship. They're like legitimately friends. And I think originally Derek wanted Spike to direct it, but Spike couldn't because he had his own projects. And he said, well, I have the perfect guy to do it. And he just endorsed me, basically.
Yeah.
So I met with the producers of The Last Dance, and then I met with Derek. And I think one big thing that impressed Derek was that I knew baseball. He didn't have to worry about having to explain certain things about the game or the Yankees or what happened. Like, it was second nature. Like when I first met him, we talked about very specific things. And I think it put his mind at ease that the person who was telling the story had a passion for baseball that matched his or was close to his. And I think, with Spike's endorsement and the work that I had done, with Deer and all the things that you had mentioned, they were comfortable with like the actual filmmaking. They trusted me. But I think a lot of it was that I respected him. I knew his story and I knew baseball.
Yeah.
And I think we just connected as two guys that like baseball, love baseball, and and went from there. And just, I think that there were probably other elements to it that made me an attractive candidate to tell the story. I think his family trusted me. So yeah, that's basically the short story of how it came about.
I mean, isn't that like the most Derek Jeter thing though? Like when I think about it, I'm like, out of all the people like who are gonna get documentaries in the world, right? Like Derek Jeter would be the one who's like looking for someone who has a passion for what he dedicated his life to the same way, but like also happens to be a pretty kick-ass director. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not if that's what he set out to look for, that's not exactly the easiest thing to find. And then, you know, the fact that you're a fan also like of the Yankees is like, I guess that has to feel great too, because it's like there's certain things where, like you said, he can just name it and you'll know it. Like you say 04 to a Yankee fan, we know. Like we know what you're talking about. You say 01, we know. You know what I mean? We know what you mean. Like, you know what I mean? It goes, or you 09 or whatever, or 96, 97. We know. Like we know exactly what you talk about, whatever. So I'm sure that has to play into it too. Like, you know, you guys don't got to get into all the specifics of why this is important or that is important. You already know. Like, because it was important to you probably too. Listen, man, that's to say that like people are excited, like I said, is an understatement. Like it's through the roof. Like I grew up in a time where as a small child, I caught the end of Jordan's career, right? And then those Washington Wizards years, which I don't really speak too much about them, but listen, I'm grateful that I got to see them because I still subscribe to the belief that MJ is the GOAT. But like I said, I caught the end of that. But Jeter is the guy who, as a child, I saw his career begin. And as an adult, I saw him retire from baseball. So I know people in my age group, people like it are just like going crazy because it's like, he's our guy. Like, do you feel like any pressure whatsoever, like with telling this story? Or is it one of those, situations again where you're like, nah, man, like I belong here?
Oh yeah, I belong here. I don't feel any pressure.
We go. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't. Nah, it's like, it's really just how do we tell the best story so that the people that love Derek either learn something new or see a side of him that they didn't really see before, or that they could go down memory lane and relive those experiences. Like we want to acknowledge that, but we also want to acknowledge the haters. That Derek has a lot of haters and that we're trying to, show people that he is more than what you perceived him to be, whatever those perceptions are, because they range in so many different areas. And then the people that don't really watch baseball and don't know what 96 means or don't know what 04 means, that they go along for the ride because they're interested in the man.
Yeah.
Like this baseball is part of it, but there's more to him than just the baseball. So there's a lot of things that we want to hit on, but I've had no doubts since like day one. I don't feel any pressure. It's just, excited anxiety to just get it out to the world so people can see it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't feel any pressure. I'm just doing what I do. And, there's so many things to talk about with Derek. Like the interesting thing is that when this was announced, I was very aware that people were saying, well, what are you going to talk about with Derek Jeter? Like what is there to talk about? Or Nomar's better. This guy, like all this talk, but a lot of it is rooted in a perception that's based on an image that Derek crafted himself intentionally. So it's like, it's an opportunity really to like open up the world or introduce the world to Derek, the person, the man, and like some of the, behind the scenes baseball stuff as well. But I'm like very aware of like how some people, you said people were excited, but people were also like, well, what could you possibly talk about? And it's just like, there's a filmmaker involved.
Yeah.
It's not the media doing it. It's not some rando on Twitter doing it. Like there's an actual storyteller that's going to tell the story. So like, relax, you know what I mean? Like chill out.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, like you name something like this, and of course the haters come out the woodworks. I loved when, Jeter was getting voted into the Hall of Fame, and immediately all these arguments come out for like why he's overrated or he's not a Hall of Famer. And it's just like, the thing is like, you see how far you have to reach to prove that he's not a Hall of Famer. that almost proves the opposite. Like if you have to reach that far, come on. Like
yeah. And it's like very it's rotten, low hanging fruit. I mean, there's nothing there. You know, it just helps. It just helps with clickbait. I mean, it's just an easy thing to get people riled up and, you know, use him to like get attention placed on others. So it's fine. With it. Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you, it works. It works on me and my co-host. What was it? It was like a couple months ago or whatever, at the end of last year. We had people going back and forth with us about something. We're like, don't do it. Don't do the Jeter rant. Don't do the Jeter rant. And we just did it. We're like, damn it. We fell in the trap again. And it's like, boy, it's hard. Like imagine you can't be a 90s baby and a Yankee fan and also be like, it's really hard to have that tough skin when people start coming at Jeter sideways. It's like, nah, man, you can't talk about him like that. Like we don't allow it. Like,
yeah, but it's also an industry, you know, there's a lot that goes into it. That's why, like, you know, I don't feel pressure. Like the stuff is, I mean, everything's there to tell, you know, and I know that there are things that people don't know that they will find out. And if they know some of it, they'll hear it from the horse's mouth, or it'll be acknowledged and it confirmed for some. But there's a lot of things too that like people just don't know, regardless of how big of a fan they are, because he didn't let people in. So I don't feel pressure. I mean, it's just, this is my job. So I don't feel pressure doing my job. It's just, I know it comes with the territory. Like some people are going to, you know, they're going to hate on it just naturally. I already know that's going to happen, and they're going to say crazy negative stuff just because. And then the overwhelming majority, I feel confident that when they're done watching it, they're going to really, really love it and have a different view of Derek. And that's the point, you know, so that's all that really matters to me. Simple
as it is. I know I'm going to cry. I ain't afraid to admit that live here on this episode, on this interview. It is what it is. Listen, I'm not even the most emotional dude. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I'll keep it a stack. I'm not. But Jeter's last game, so my wife will tell you, she's like, she tells the story of the time. She's like, I looked over at him and he had tears in his eyes. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? And I had to explain it to her. It was like, when it came to like Derek Jeter and like Kobe, like I saw that start to finish. Like, it's weird to say I saw like a career like start to finish. I'm 30 years old. You know what I mean? Like at the time I was like, I can't believe, like in my head, it's just like Jeter was always going to be the shortstop for the Yankees. And then when it was over, it was over. And I was just like, damn it, man. Like, is that really it? Like, we really going to have somebody else playing short that's not wearing number 2? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is, bro. I was emotional. So I'm like, now I'm thinking, we're going to watch this. And I'm just like, them emotions is coming, man. I just know it. Cause like, he means so much more. He's more than just a baseball player. He's more than just a baseball player. He's more than just the shortstop for the New York Yankees. He's more than just the Hall of Famer. Even though that's a pretty good tagline as it is, he's more than that. He means more to like people like me who grew up looking up to him. Like me being a kid, being able to say Derek Jeter is my favorite player. Like I remember when all this steroid stuff and all this stuff was going out crazy like that, whatever. I never had a doubt in my mind. I was like, you can't say nothing to me about my favorite player though. Like I don't want to hear it. Right. You know what I mean? And that means something so much more to people. And that's why this is, you're right. I think you're right. If I was a betting man, I'd bet that the overwhelming majority is going to be positive. And not just because of that, but also because you're really good at what you do, which leads me to my next and final question. If you know, whatever, how much you feel comfortable sharing, obviously, because you might have stuff that you haven't announced or whatever, but what's next for Randy Wilkins, man? Like what's next for you?
No, I don't know yet, man. I'm just trying to make this one film, and then let's see what happens after that. You know, like I don't have an answer. I haven't thought that far. Like I would say 95 to 99% of my focus is on just making the captain as great as it could be, and then whatever happens after that, we'll figure it out. Like my agent brings stuff to me, but I don't think that that's like first and foremost on my mind. It's just like making this great and like maximizing what this can be. And then when that's over, I feel confident that, you know, something great will come down the line after that. So I don't actually have an answer to that because I don't know, but it doesn't really matter to me right now. I know what I'm doing right now, and that's like the only thing that really matters at this point. So,
yeah, great things are clearly going to continue coming down the line. I mean, just looking at your trajectory to now, man. So I think you got the right. I definitely think you got the right attitude. I want to thank you again for giving us this time. Again, man, we are super, super anxious for what the captain's gonna bring. We feel like legit what you said, bro. Like Derek Jeter's kept the door locked all these years, and now Randy Wilkins is gonna go with the front door and open that door up for us a little bit. So we can't wait, man. Thanks so much for the time, and thanks for being so candid with us.
yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Listen, the door is always open on Designated Spittaz. We know you're gonna be busy when this drops. You're probably gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna send my DM, and no matter what, I'm gonna send my DM. You get to it when you get to it, but whenever this is all, you're doing all the press and stuff, we'd love to have you back. You're welcome, man.
Thank you. I'll be back. We can talk about it more in detail when it's actually out in the world. So then we
Yes,
can
sir.
really get to it.
Exactly. Then we really gonna go into it because I'm a huge Jeter fan, bro. It's not even funny. All
Cool.
right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Francis, man, I just got to start off and say terrific job. I mean, an amazing interview. Very, very well done. Both of you going back and forth very well. Great questions. Great insight on filmmaking. It's something I'm interested in. So being able to sit back and listen to somebody who's doing it and doing it at a very high level and a very, very good level is exciting, especially if you consider yourself as an artist or somebody who, as far as even for myself, music production, making videos, things like being a content creator even, it's fun to hear somebody who's already there. I always said, you want to learn from the best. Learn from the people that's really doing it at a high level, and Randy is doing that. And just a terrific interview. Learned a lot about Randy Wilkins, but I also learned a lot in general, and I'm even more excited now to watch The Captain.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, thanks for that, man. I appreciate it. We
Give yourself a round of applause. You need a round of applause.
We're able to get together. Yeah, let me give myself a little round of applause. You know what I'm saying? Also, we're gonna put some of this for Randy Wilkins for joining us.
Randy!
You know what I'm saying? Because he's a busy man. He's putting together one of the most critically acclaimed fans waiting for years documentaries.
You know what
in a very long time.
You know what I respect about him? I like that he said this because I've learned. Just doing the little stuff that one of the things I've had to get better with. I've been a very impatient person my whole life. Very impatient with everything. As you guys know, me and Felix made music for years together. We're still doing it. There'll be times when I will send him my vocals and stuff like that, and the same day I'll be like, "Hey, are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done?" But he's the one doing all the stuff on the background, and I was always very impatient, even till I would say the beginning of 2021, 2020, the end of 2020, still just very impatient with just about everything. But one of the things I liked that he said was, you asked him about, what's next for you. And he's like, this. Yeah. Like, my agent is sending me things to do, but I just need to focus on this. Like, this is the thing. I need this to be the best it needs to be. And I've learned that lesson, like all right, if you are doing a show, for an example, I produce all the podcasts. So I got to watch from the first second to the last second. And I got to click things, have pop-ups come on, do all this, do all that stuff. And there's a couple of times where I mess up and I'm like, that didn't look right. And I could be 30 minutes in and I'm like, get rid of it. Get rid of it and redo it. Because I want to put out the best quality product that I know I can do. And I'm happy to listen to somebody like him say that, because it makes what I'm doing currently even more valuable just to me as a person. Like, I can see my own character building and growing I'm doing something like this. So for any content creator out there, watch that interview again. This is a guy who is doing it at a high level. Listen to what he says and put it into play. Put it into play. Don't work on put it into practice. Don't work on 50 different things at once. Focus on something that you really want to complete, that you're excited about and you're passionate about. Take your time. And if you
make it the best you can.
Make it the best you can. If you mess up and you go, well, that's okay, I'll leave it. That's not your best. Get rid of it and do it again. And I've done it, trust me. When you got a podcast, NYYST did one where I had to chop a lot of stuff up. It was like an hour and 40 minutes. I messed up like 3 times on it because I had to cut different things out. And it might have took me 5 hours to release one episode.
Yeah.
But I think by the time it got out, it was really good. And to be fair, it's their most viewed episode to this date. So it pays off.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the view has anything to do with me, but I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Because I know what happened behind the scenes.
Well, it does. I mean, to like you're putting work in on it, and obviously they're putting the content out there, but you're putting the work on the back end really can't be understated, right? So again, like I said to Randy during the interview, I was like, I want to give you your flowers.
Yeah,
I'm big on that, but I'm gonna give you your flowers too, Pete. Like what you're doing on the back end for all of these podcasts right now, is really like it's really invaluable. Like what we're bringing to the table in 2022 with all the podcasts and everything, like half of that is really the aesthetic and how different we look from like everything else that's out there. And that's you putting in those hours and stuff like that.
We're going to tell the story in the book. We'll have a chapter in the book about that.
We're going to have, well, that's what I'm saying. You guys are going to have to do the book because you're going to have to let people in a little bit behind the scenes, to let them see like, how the sauce was cooked. Yeah, and I think that's what's dope. That's what's so dope about knowing that.
Sometimes I'm actually making sauce while I'm doing the videos.
Exactly. I mean, y'all remember cooking with Simonetti, don't you?
Cooking with the sauce.
I know the OGs. I know the OGs remember cooking with the sauce. But
oh man, I can't wait to explain shit like that. Like when it's not even. I mean, I feel like we're way advanced to where I was then, but still, like to have the videos, man, of like being in the kitchen, I'm cooking while I'm doing a live chat. I'm like, that is just silly, man. Like I think about it now, I'm like, man, oh man, the evolution is crazy.
Nah, man, I'm telling you, that's what's important. Look,
even friends, remember your videos? Remember your videos on the TV behind you and shit?
Dude, excuse me. I remember like when we started last year and I was doing the vids with now it's funny because like now we record this podcast with me looking at the TV, right? That was behind me in those first videos, and I would like have my slides on my other phone and I'm like scrolling across and it's like, yo, we had to like, we had to make shit happen like the way that we knew how, like whatever. But, and I look back because I'm always like, kind of like critiquing my own work, like to try to get better.
Right.
And I look back and I'm just like, you know what? Like this was creative though. Like I was using it. I had the shit behind. I was like, I like it. Like,
it was.
But now I look at the stuff that we're doing. I'm like, damn, like we talk about Correa and then like it just cuts to like highlights while we're talking.
While we're talking.
And I was just, I'm like, bro, I tell people all the time, I'm like, because people will come up to me, oh, your show looks like really good. Like, it looks like you guys are like on MLB Network or something. I'm like, it's better. I'm like, it looks
facts,
like
man. We're really excited, man, and that's why we talk about it so much. But we're proud of what we're doing, and that goes back to like what Randy was saying. I mean, we are proud of our work, and that's an accomplishment on itself. So I'm excited because Randy, thank you. I know I wasn't on the interview with you, but I really look forward to being on the next one because I'm going to sit back with my popcorn. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to watch every single episode, take notes, because that's what I will be doing. I will be taking notes on it because I tell you what, if Derek lets out some of the stuff, and on the Lost episode, we talked about that. We said there's some stuff with A-Rod there during those years that we really hope Derek opens up about it a little bit, and we hear what was the feeling like in that clubhouse? Yeah. What was the reactions? What was his thoughts on 09? What was his thoughts when he got handed that microphone and he had to speak at the last game of Yankee Stadium? I mean, that's going to be something that way after us, way after Derek, way after our kids, that's going to be known. It's going to as long as the earth is here, that video clip will be known forever. And Derek was a part of that.
Think about it. We still hear Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig, that's right.
Like at least I feel like I hear that
like
clip.
a damn tank, by the way. I keep thinking about that. Guy was huge.
He was. I feel like I hear that 4 to 5 times a season.
Facts.
And it never gets old. It's
never
like,
will.
Today, I consider myself
the luckiest
man
on the face of the earth.
On the face of the earth. Like,
man, my dude was dying, bro.
You, I just got fucking chills.
Me too. I do all the time. Like, my dude was dying.
I can't. Like, I love that. I love that so much. I also love I want to thank the good Lord for making me a Yankee fan.
Yes.
And I love that they put that in the tunnel and that they brought it.
Killer Joe got it in his room, in his little setup.
Killer Joe has it in his room.
Yeah, shout out to Killer Joe.
When I saw that Killer Joe had that in his room, I was like, you know what?
He a real one.
When I buy my house, he is a real one. Killer Joe is one of the realest of them all.
Right.
And if you guys are real ones, You need to take your real ass to Twitter and hit the follow
Joe,
button
man.
on @JoeGGG.
No, it's like it's Joe Giamp at Joe.
Oh no, it's Joe Giamp now.
Giamp.
Exactly. It's like the first half of his last name, I'm guessing. Right?
Yeah,
if you're a real one, take your ass to Twitter and hit the follow button right now. We tired of asking. We're gonna come looking for you. You don't want us to send our people. All right. You already heard Hubbard. He left all those voicemails on Pete.
Hubbard Smith, man.
We call him and we tell him on the satellite phone to go pull up to your address, and he's pulling up. He does not care. You think the satellite phone is the only thing he has in his bag of tricks? You better watch your back.
He got pumpkin bombs.
Go follow Joe. I'm not playing with y'all, but like I was saying, like when I saw that he had it, I was like, bro, you know what? He just gave me the perfect idea. I was like, when I buy my house, my huge, like almost, mini mansion after, NYY News takes off, and I'm just rolling in dough. I'm going to have a man
projections. Cave. We are manifesting it.
Oh yeah, we got to manifest it. You got to speak it into existence. So when I'm on and in going into the man cave, there will be like a staircase, right? And on the top, I'm gonna have that picture as you're going down into it, and it's gonna say, I want to thank the good Lord for making me a Yankee, and I'm gonna hit it every time I go down to watch the Yankees piss me off.
Hey, bro, I got a prediction, and maybe this prediction's already true, but I'll be honest with you, man. Content creators like us, I'm gonna give them their credit, like John Boy, like the people out there that are doing it on the Yankee side. I know John Boy's doing everything now, so God bless them. But on the Yankee side overall, we are very valuable to the team, to what the team does and the community and the fans.
You're right.
Because we are almost like, I don't want to say we're players because they put in a different type of work, but we're like right there with the team. I mean, we cover them. We talk about them. Thousands of people are hearing us. Right now, we're not at the level we want, but we're getting heard by thousands and thousands of people. Right
the same
now.
Fans.
So
it's the same fans that watch the team, bro.
100%.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's the same fans who are fans of the players and fans of the product that the New York Yankees put on the field is our target audience. Those are the people that we're targeting to become fans of the content that we're putting out.
So I do want to thank the good Lord for making us a Yankee.
Facts. 100%. Well, I think I say it all the time, and I'm as frustrating as it is to be a Yankee fan these last few years, like I also wouldn't have it any other way.
Me either. If the Yankees were the worst team in baseball, if we knock on wood live long enough, if that ever happens again, we'll ride through it.
I'm a lifer when it comes.
Yeah, nobody's gonna change now.
Like, I'm not.
And the good thing is for content creation, we're in a time now where this is where people are getting their stuff. We're not like the Brandon. We're not like the Brandon Cunties out there, who's gonna sit there and cry about the sky. About the sun going down, and when it's sunset, he just starts bursting into tears because he can't help himself. Or Adler, who is more concerned about, social shit than actual baseball games. But
you guys can email us as many times as you want. You can DM us.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna break our laptop. You're not gonna see me grab my shit.
You can DM us, bro, to whenever. We don't care. Like listen, man. I'm gonna answer. You guys know, those of you who have DM'd me to ask me, questions about whatever. Listen, if I don't have the answer, I tell you right away. I'm like, hey man, I don't know. Like I'm speculating just as much as you guys are.
I'm gonna just start telling people, go message Francis. Like leave me alone.
The DMs are quite full right now, but I get back to all of you. That's one thing you guys can't say. I don't I definitely get back to all of you guys. What's crazy to me though is I'm always like, damn, like the DMs are like this, and I only have like 530 something followers.
Yeah.
I was like, imagine. When I get to the thousands and the hundreds of thousands, because that time is coming. Right. All right, people, I'm manifesting that too.
He's manifesting
this year in 2022, man. It's gonna be crazy.
The year of manifestation. That's it.
The year of manifestation. Manifest destiny. Let me not start talking about that.
Right.
But bro, this is gonna be a big year. It's already been a big year, man.
It's already been a blessing, man. I mean,
what are we talking about? It's already been a big year.
Man. Like
speaking of big year. The team, oh no, I'm not gonna say that because that ties into your tweet of the week.
Okay. Well, tweet of the week. Yeah, there we go. Perfect segment right into it. Let's go ahead and cut to that. And guys, this week, tweet of the week. I'm sorry, everybody, but I'm being selfish. I was proud of this tweet, and I'm gonna stay proud.
You gotta be.
I'm proud of it. I'm gonna stay proud of it. That's all there is to it. Nobody's gonna take it away from me. It was the tweet when the Vince McMahon little meme But what I wrote there was when Hal Steinbrenner finds out Cashman has gone rogue and is close to signing Carlos Correa to 10 years, $350 million deal. And it's a thing when during the Attitude Era where Vince McMahon and Steve Austin were in that great beef together, which is one of the best things I think in wrestling history. But they were in that whole little beef together during that time. And the security guards commented like, "Hey Vince, he's in the parking lot." And Vince McMahon, "Stay with Stephanie. We'll get that son of a bitch. We'll get that son of a bitch." And he's chasing him. Take me to that son of a bitch. And then he's like, "Go, go, go." One of the worst actors of all time, but arguably, not even arguably, I think Vince McMahon's one of the greatest heels of all time in professional wrestling.
No,
no doubt about it. I mean, during that time,
that man knew how to play a villain.
He was like the bad boss. And let me tell you what, for you Trump supporters out there, Vince McMahon created the "You're Fired." I'm pretty sure he was before Trump on the "You're Fired."
I am almost, I want to say 100% sure that that's a Vince McMahon vehicle.
And
I feel like he
for
started
you
that.
and for you Conor McGregor fans, he created the Billy Strut.
Oh
Vince
yeah,
McMahon created the Billy Strut. That was Vince's thing. So I mean, it's crazy because hey, look, Vince is a pop culture icon too. I mean, think about all the creations of Vince McMahon. You're talking about people might say this actually isn't crazy at all. He is like a real life not modern day, but a real life Stan Lee.
Oh yeah.
I mean, think of Hulk Hogan's a superhero for us.
He created an entire universe.
Yeah, Macho Man these guys were super. My favorite wrestler of all time is Rick Rude. I mean, Rick Rude was he was, WWF first and all the other leagues before that, but predominantly got his start in WWF then WCW.
Yeah.
But I mean, Vince McMahon, even if he didn't create all of them, but the show that was performed by him and the heart and the dedication.
Yeah.
I love sharing stuff with Vince McMahon because my childhood, WWF was right there. No, that was one of the most predominant parts of my life growing up was wrestling.
We can't take that. We can't take that out of our childhood.
Never.
Like that. Like I think all of our childhoods are different. Like growing up without WWF. Like obviously, I would say my favorite of all time was The Rock.
The Rock, man, legend.
I have a ton of like other favorite wrestlers because it's so hard to just keep to the one. But he was number one, and I feel like growing up, bro, like without that would have been so different. Like me and my brother, like play fight wrestling. Like we threw our mattresses on the floor and like turned it into a ring, and we're jumping off the top of the bunk, doing backflips, almost breaking our necks.
I got a funny story to tell.
Even though before wrestling started every week, didn't they say don't try this at home?
All the time. Because people were doing it. They were making videos jumping off their roofs and shit. So wrestling was like, all right, we got to kind of get ahead of this and to get ahead of any trouble or anything like that. And they used to start the show. Remember the dun 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 dun? They would start it with the, don't try this at home. But I got a funny quick story to share, and then we're going to wrap this episode up. During the whole Attitude Era and all that, ECW was huge then with Paulie Dangerously, who you guys know as Paul Heyman. In wrestling
back
was he was the one doing ECW. That was his creation and everything with him.
But
ECW was known for the violence. They were known for doing the flips through tables and jumping off scaffolds and barbed wire matches. So I got two older brothers. So I'm the youngest in my family. Both of my brothers are older than me. But during that time, we would do the ECW shit. We would literally have fights, wrestling matches, jumping through like leg drops off the floats in the pool and shit like that, like community pools, all that shit, like craziness. But anyway, my dad used to own a few clubs in the Bronx, Gleason Avenue, a few different areas. And where we lived, we had a garage, a pretty big size garage where we would have wrestling matches inside the garage and then take it to the backyard and shit like that. My dad got a big ass folding table like they had in ECW. The Dudley Boys would put everybody through it, through the 3D through it. And my brother Sean lays me on top of it and does a flip right through it on me when we were young. So we were now saying, oh shit, the table broke. We didn't expect it to break. So what we decided to do is put it back in the box. We put it back in the box. All I remember is my dad coming over, this motherfucking kids, I threw that shot. He broke the table out. He took it all the way to the club to pull it out. They were having they used to do outside. There was the bodega across. I remember these days growing up, man. Bronx Tale type shit. They would set up a table outside. They have sausage and peppers made for the whole area.
Oh, man.
People upstairs would come down and eat everything to take care of the whole neighborhood. And that was one of the tables was used for. So when they took it out, it was split in half. So he flipped. But that's one of my most vivid memories that I feel like I can remember the entire day.
Oh yeah.
Because how pissed he was. And I remember we knew immediately, but we were scared to tell my dad. You know, my dad to this day has the loudest voice that he could shake the whole house by screaming. So we were just scared of that alone.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, well, he'll find out and be like, I don't know, maybe they sold it to you like that. But he knew it was us, and we told him eventually. But about 4 years later,
wrestling had everybody get in trouble, bro. Me and my friends, we used to do this thing called the RKO camp.
Oh, okay.
And because Randy Orton is another one of my favorites of all time.
My boy, that's my boy's cousin, my boy Jay Garcia. If you guys don't know the Jay Garcia show, go follow Jay Garcia on IG. A quick little plug. Me and Jay worked together in Kenneth Cole for a couple of years down Soho.
Wow.
And Jay Garcia his mom is actually Randy's wife, Kim, is actually his mom's sister.
That's nuts.
So yeah, he has videos with Randy doing an RKO on him and going into a pool and shit like that. So
that's
the Jay Garcia
crazy,
show.
bro.
Jay's an artist. Jay does the funniest skits you'll ever see. He told us he has a skit with a girl walking down the street, and he goes, "You're as thick as my mama's oatmeal." It's hilarious.
Oh shit!
And the girl's like, "You're like 100 pounds soaking wet." He's like, "Just spit in my mouth." It's just hilarious. That shit's hilarious.
Man,
go follow at Jay Garcia on IG on Instagram.
Back. Shout out to Jay Garcia, man.
You're gonna have
happens
fun,
to
man.
be
Shout out on
related to one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Facts,
but
facts.
yeah, Randy had me on some different shit because I was a little bit older now when Randy Orton is out, and I have a cell phone, and it has a video recording camera on it, and so I get the bright idea of I'm gonna just go around in the street RKOing people, and you guys are gonna catch it on video.
Oh shit!
And literally, like, dude, like we're walking up the block, like what I would do was I would always try to catch the Randy Orton RKO on Hulk Hogan.
What we don't know about Francis, he's actually crippled 4 handicapped women now at this point.
So hey, I respected. I never hit the women and children. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's basically, you know what I mean.
It's like
Coast and Nostra. Like I'm not touching.
There's a line.
Yeah, I wasn't touching women and children. But if listen, men of a certain age, you guys were getting. And basically, I try to model it after the Hulk Hogan RKO where he RKO'd him across the limousine.
Oh, yeah.
And dude, like we'd be walking in the street and like I just see people and I'm just running up to them and just catching them. And then like they get so upset, yo, what the fuck, yo, what you doing? And we're just running away. You see me on the camera. It was bad. I mean, obviously the first people.
These clips? Do we have these clips? Can we premiere some?
So interestingly enough, I think 1 or 2 clips do still exist, and if I find them,
we get it. Yeah, we got to premiere it on episode.
We got to put that shit on here, bro, because it's crazy. Because I think the first few clips obviously were like just me and my brother, and my brother was helping me because I was catching all of our friends,
right?
Because they didn't know, and then after I caught them, they got in on it, and I started doing random people.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Again, let me put the disclaimer out there. Please don't try this at home. Especially not in the Bronx where I was doing it because I was literally out of my fucking mind.
I was about to say,
like, I don't know how I'm still here today.
I was about to say, especially now. Now might be a little more dangerous to do it.
Yeah, now you get too close. I mean, now the thing is like you can get punched in the face for breathing on somebody.
Right,
so
facts.
I don't recommend you, put your arm around their neck and just throw your body forward and see how that goes. Like people literally. I mean, they want to call 911 on you if they see you're not wearing a mask. So
right. So you don't want to.
I don't know about RKOing somebody, but shouts out to Randy Orton, bro. I got to tell you, one of my favorite finishing moves.
One of the best of all time. Randy's one of the best of all time.
This was an
I say this too? And a legit guy too. Randy Orton's a tough son of a bitch in real life, man. He's not one of these guys that act like a tough guy on TV. Randy's one of those known tough guys, and I love hearing those stories. I'm another known tough guy. Like I said before, my favorite wrestler of all time, Rick Rude. Rick Rude was known as one of the toughest wrestlers on the planet. Like, there's a funny story. If you guys ever if you guys are wrestling fans out there, go listen to what they used to do. You know, Rick Rude grew up with the Road Warriors. They're all from the same town. The Road Warriors, Mr. Perfect, Scott Norton. If you remember Scott Norton, and they were all bouncers.
They're all
in
from the same place.
They all went to the same high school. They're all best friends.
I did.
Yeah.
I knew. I knew they were friends, but I didn't realize that they were together like that.
There's a few other. I'm missing a few. There's actually a few other guys that are well-known wrestlers. They all grew up together, and they worked in bars as bouncers. And Scott Norton was a huge guy. Scott Norton was gigantic.
Yeah.
And he used to say all the time, Rick would fight every single night. He'd fight somebody every single night. And he said, I don't even remember a time where they said when he was 17 years old, he was fighting adults 30 plus years old and beating everybody. Never lose. You never see him lose. What he used to do, there was two things he used to do. One, they would do to hustle, to make money. The other thing he would do, he would get his girlfriend to come, I think, which actually became his wife. He would sit her up on the bar and he'd go across the bar and just sip on a beer and wait for somebody to talk to her because that's the person he would fight. He would look for fights every single day. And he was also a championship arm wrestler, which leads to his other thing he would do. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, would go into a bar. They'd find the biggest guys. And they would, hey, I could destroy you in an arm wrestling match. I see you're a pretty big guy. I'll beat you in arm wrestling. I'll bet whatever you want to bet. And the guys, I bet 200. Let's make it 400. Okay. Well, you know what? 500. I'll challenge you 500. Okay. He goes, you know what, matter of fact? I'll give you 2,000 if you could beat the guy over there. And they point to Rick Rude. And Rick Rude would beat everybody. He was a world champion. He was a world champion arm wrestler. So they would make all this money. There was a time when they did it in front of a bunch of cops. I think it was in the South somewhere. And the owners of the bar knew all the wrestlers. They were like, you guys got to go out the back and leave immediately. Like, get out. And they were able to leave and get out. But it's amazing stories if you listen to...
Hey, you know what? Shout out to the fucking bar employees for doing that.
Facts.
That's how you fucking do. That's
why
I love. That's why I love the Bronx, bro. Because like that's how we grew up. Like that's culture right there. Like
we take care of each other, man.
Go out through the back. Don't
take care of each other, man.
They got you. They.
That's what I guess, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of this, but that's what I guess kind of upsets me about New York now, man. Growing up, when I grew up in New York, how soft
it's become.
That's my thing. It's so weird. It's the strangest thing. It's hard to even explain it.
Yo, it's Karen land over here, bro.
You know, we brought this up a little yesterday, but we have the one great thing about New York is that every culture has been through it. Every culture has been, and every culture has faced the bottoms and the highs in New York, which is a beautiful thing. You know, you got...
And has left their mark on the city.
Like we said, we got Spike Lee. You got Jay-Z. You got all the Big Pun. You got Fat Joe. You got Art. You got Italians. You got Frank Sinatra. You got, unfortunately, the Mafia, which is one of the most well-known American times ever, especially in New York. It established a lot of it. But one thing New York was never known for was like snitching. Like, it was hard for New York would know, like, we defy orders. We don't bow down to orders. We don't take orders from nobody. Like, you know, if something doesn't make sense, we're not doing that shit. Now I'm like, man, you cats are just sitting back watching kids and people get arrested for trying to eat some food. Like, I'm like, what are we doing?
But like actively calling the police for these, like,
is it really that bad? Because again, I'm not in New York right now.
It's bad. It's
wow,
bad.
that's crazy.
Trust me. Like, dude, like I know, short story. This was 3-4 months ago because we're almost in February. I'm in a store. I'm in a deli. I'm grabbing a sandwich, middle of the day, always.
What kind of sandwich was it? I mean, you got to tell us.
I'll tell you right now. It was spiced ham, provolone, lettuce, tomatoes, banana peppers, red onions. Yeah, I know how I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I know how I give it up.
What was the drink? What was the drink with it?
Oh, I definitely had like a lemonade.
A lemonade.
Okay. That deli does fresh lemonade every day.
Oh, okay. If they do that, then yeah, I understand that.
Oh no, yeah, no, I don't buy like.
There's nothing though. Like, there's nothing like a sandwich in New York with a Snapple. That's like the go-to. Almost.
That's the go-to. No, yeah, that's
or grape soda.
That's the go-to. So if that particular deli has good lemonade. I'm not gonna say their name because I don't like what the person behind the counter did in this story. But if some of you from New York are listening and you're like, oh, I know that deli. With the good lemonade. So that's why I was buying the lemonade. But if not, I probably would have had like a Snapple or something like that's what I get. So I'm getting my sandwich, shooting the shit with the dude making the sandwich or whatever. And like there's this kid, and then like I just see him like he's trying to leave the store, and then the lady comes from behind the counter, and then she like grabs him. She's like, no, whatever, like that. So the dude with the sandwich, he's like, oh, hold on, and he goes, and then she's like telling him, she's like, no, he's trying to steal, whatever, da da da. That she's grabbing, she's like, no, you can't go, you can't go. So they pull him back in the store, and then the guy, the sandwich dude, was like, yo, he's like, what happened? What happened? And she's like, oh, he took some chips or whatever. So he goes and he's like, you took the chips or whatever. And the kid's like, all right, yeah, whatever. And he takes out of his pocket 2 bags of chips, right? 50 cents each, $1.
Right.
The lady goes behind the counter, and I see her on the phone, and I'm like, she's not calling the cops. I know.
Oh my God.
There's no way she's calling the cops. She called the fucking cops.
Oh my God.
So now I can't sit there and not get involved because I have a problem. My wife tells me all the time. But so I go and I'm telling her, I'm like, listen, I'm like, please, like, hang up the phone. You don't got to do that. I'll give you the $1 for his shit. I'll buy it.
Right.
I was like, it's a freaking kid. He had to be like 14.
Oh my God. Come on, man.
So I'm like, don't do. She's like, no. She's like, no. He steals. Stealing is very bad. And they need to learn. They need to. I was like, he's learning his lesson. He's embarrassed. You saw it in his face. He was embarrassed. He got caught.
Of course.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. Like, first of all, he's probably embarrassed that he has to steal $1 worth of chips.
Right.
Like, she's not thinking like that.
That's the lesson. That's what I'm thinking. Me too. That's the lesson right there. Is that you don't got to do that. That's the lesson right there.
It's like, yo. So I'm looking at that. I'm just like, yo, please. I'm like, please stop. Please stop. She's like, no, I'm gonna call. Whatever. So I stay there now because I'm like, I'm not just about to dip or whatever. So I'm just staying there, and I'm with the kid. I'm like, yo, it's gonna be all right. Don't even trip, like, or whatever. The cops come or whatever. Thank God, we got some good cops, which I know a lot of you don't think exist. I'm here to tell you they do.
They do.
100%.
150%.
150% they do. We got some real good cops.
And you got assholes. Told the lady,
so. Yeah, they played it perfect. Like, they came in and they heard the lady out. And they were like, no, yeah, man, we understand. We're gonna talk to him. We're gonna take him with us or whatever. And then we got outside the store, and they're just like, come on, bro, what you doing? You 2 bags of chips? What's wrong with you? It's $1, whatever. And one of the cops pulled out a $10 bill and put it in his hand. It was like, don't steal chips. And they told him to leave. Like, that experience right there. See, that's not even why I was telling the story, but that I do want to highlight that shit. Like, that was dope to see. Like, the cops come and play that situation fucking perfect.
Yep.
And for the record, because some of you actually should hear this, they were both white cops.
Right.
Both white cops. And the kid was a 14-year-old African-American kid.
Right.
They came and they played that shit perfect. Perfect.
Have you ever told this story on, like, Twitter, you get banned for misinformation?
Oh no, hell yeah!
I'd probably get flagged.
The tweet would have like one of those like flag things under it, like don't believe everything you read.
Yeah.
This is 100% happened, people. And I just can't. I'm telling you, like, that was one of the moments where I was like, I was so disappointed in my city, bro. I was like, you calling the cops over $1 worth of chips? Like, you remember growing up in the Bronx? Like, you would steal from a deli, like, they would handle it themselves.
Of course, yeah.
They wasn't calling the cops. I mean, they wasn't going to put their hands on somebody else's child.
Most of the time that people don't get about New York, if you remember, who was the story? Damn, I forgot his name. Oh, man, the kid that got chopped up with a machete, and everybody just watched him get killed.
You talking about Junior?
Yeah, Junior. Yeah. And that whole situation. The thing that bothers me so much about that story, and you only notice really if you're from New York, his house is right around the corner, meaning that bodega knows him. They all know him. Yep. They know his parents. Everybody knows each other in the neighborhood. That's what people don't get. You know each other. Even if you don't know by name, you're like, yeah, that kid lives in our building.
Exactly.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
In New York, you know that.
It's important to explain that. We don't know the names.
Correct.
But like when we see you, like we know you're from here. We know you live there. We know you go to the store.
Typically. You could be like, yeah,
we know your car.
Where you hang out.
We know the coats you wear, where you hang out. Like, we know you. Yeah.
We know all that stuff. So when you hear a story like that, you're like, man, that boy couldn't be protected by somebody. Like, everybody that knows him, like that's just, and even situations like that, it's like, a lot of times it would be handled because if I did that, the bodega knows that my dad was right across the street.
Yeah.
They knew exactly who to go to. If I did something wrong, and they know my dad would fix it one way or the other.
Yep.
Like, back then, there was like a respect and an honor system that we had that everybody knew. You don't disrespect your neighborhood, one, and that's disrespecting it. So you don't do that. And when I grew up where there was more Italians in the neighborhood, they didn't want heat brought on the neighborhood. So they didn't want cops coming there for no stupid reason. That was bad to do in our neighborhood because the Italians felt like, we protect our own neighborhood. We handle our own situation. And that stuff, even regular other neighborhoods too, felt the same way. Is that no, we handle our own shit. Like, we know everybody. You don't do that.
That's why the cultures get along so well because like Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, we're the same. African Americans, we're the same. It's like, like we'll take care of. We can take care of our neighborhoods. We can kind of like police ourselves to an extent. Like, let's try and mediate these situations as best we can before we have to involve the authorities. Like, and that's true. Like when you bring that up, like that's one of the things, like, to, not to get too deep or sentimental, whatever, but that's one of the things that really touched my soul too about that story. Like watching the video and seeing him run into the store, because I feel like he ran into that store because he thought that was going to be a safe place.
Of course, that's why he
because
jumped the counter.
any kid who grows up in a hood like my hood or your hood where you grew up, like our bodega is actually a safe space for us.
Yes.
At least it was.
Well, yeah, we spent so much time in a bodega. It's not even funny. I mean, that was a meeting spot. It was everything. You knew where to meet me. I'll be at the bodega across the street.
You remember when you used to call people like landlines, and you're calling people, you're like, oh, yo, like what time or whatever. All right, meet in front of the bodega.
Meet in front of the bodega, right.
Because we didn't have cell phones, so we couldn't text like, yo, I'm in front of this, I'm wearing this or whatever. It's like, nah, yo, like we're in our homes, and we're like, yo, I'm gonna be in front of the bodega at 2:00. Meet me there. Like when I saw him run into that store, and like I was like, damn, like he went here because he was like, this is the only place I could go. Like this is the closest place I could go that's gonna be safe for me. And like it didn't work out because like whatever. But
that shit crazy,
that like it's good that you explain that. It's good that you explain that because it's true. Like if you're our age and older, like you have a certain regard for the bodega.
Of course.
Right? Because that's what it was for us.
Of course.
That's what it was.
Even the deli. Like it's funny too, because in Italian neighborhoods, your bakeries, like you don't fuck with the bakery. Like it's funny because on the Sopranos,
you know better. It's true.
On the Sopranos, I think somebody's cursing in the bakery. No, in the pizza shop. And Christopher's like, don't disrespect the pizza shop.
Exactly.
It sounds comical. So if you see it like that, sounds silly. But in reality, it's not.
But
like,
if you're from up here,
you don't disrespect. You don't disrespect the joints that are opening, paying, and giving us food and supplying for. You don't disrespect those places. And there was a level, and that's the one thing about just our community as a whole in general today, the type of stuff that we're seeing young kids do now. We're like, we bring it up because we're like, years ago, you catch a fucking ass beating. We don't do shit like that.
No, you couldn't do this shit.
Like you see a bunch of boys jumping a girl and taking her shoes. Like, you know what? The adults would have whooped your ass back in the day. Everybody would whoop your ass. Like, you don't do shit like that. Like,
it's
just sad where we've come to. Like, there was a real level
goes.
of respect back in the day, and like loyalty and honor, and there was some sort of a system in place, and
there was a code.
There was a code, and now it's just, it feels like it's gone, and I hate seeing what's happening in New York because I'm like, New York is the greatest city in the world, no matter how shit it could get to. It's the greatest city in the world. It's the place that if you think of a city, you think of New York City. It's that
Amen
simple.
to that.
So
no, it's the greatest.
To
it's
see
the greatest
New York
city,
doing
bro.
what it's doing now,
that.
like you're saying, cats are leaving without a mask on. People are calling the police on them. You got police arresting people for trying to go eat food. I mean, it's just something you don't want to see in America. One, but definitely in New York City. I mean, it's not something you want to see at all. But that's
New York City
is
a barometer. Is a really good barometer for this country.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, bro. It's like when you see how far we've come in terms of like softness, I'm telling you, it's disappointing sometimes. It's really disappointing.
Yeah.
But I digress, man. Listen.
Yeah, it's been
the designated spitters. The designated spitters are here to change all of that.
Facts. That's
we're here to restore the feeling.
100%, man. That's what NY News TV is all about, man. That's what we're gonna do. That's exactly what we're gonna do. So
restore the feeling.
Restore the feeling. At the end of the day, man, this has
one
been
fist at a time. You hear me? Let me stop.
One fist at a time.
I'm fucking with you.
See the sound effect we needed on that was the just quick little punch.
Bit of gunshot.
Gunshot. Yeah. But nah, man. Just a great episode, very fun, amazing interview with Randy Wilkins. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is a long, very long Designated Spittaz episode. But guys, sit back, enjoy it, put your feet up, enjoy, relax. It's Sunday. Have a good time. Watch this. Enjoy it. Comment. Leave those comments below. Again, like I said before, please subscribe. We got a lot of people, again, watching these videos who are not subscribed. So become subscribed to us, man. Become part of the family. Become part of the culture of NY News TV and what we're building here. But with that being said, Francis, I toss it over to you, man.
Keep it locked. Stay tuned. Like, subscribe, follow all of us. But most importantly, be there next week. because the next episode is, in fact, the best episode.
And you guys know we will never come whack on a designated Spittaz track. Shout out to Montel Jordan. I didn't say that yet for this year. So shout out to Montel Jordan. All right, everybody. Appreciate you. Again, subscribe, like, and share. We will see you guys next time.
Before it hits the front page, NYYnews. For the